is a mystifying and sometimes even dangerous place, and over the years, countless strange and mysterious findings have been uncovered, often leaving researchers with even more questions than when they began. Welcome back, most amazing crew. I am your host Kennedy, and today we're counting down the top 10 dark discoveries made in the desert that will give you chills. So let's not waste any more time. Starting us off in our number 10 spot, the Taklamakan Mummies. Back in 1900, Swedish explorer Sven Hedin found the ancient city of Luleå buried under the sands of the Taklamakan Desert, otherwise known as the Great Desert of Asia. What was incredible about his find was that the lost Luleå kingdom was a near 4,000-year-old city, but the really wild part came about 80 years later. In 1979, a group of explorers came across a mummy in the ancient ruins that later became known as the Beauty of Luleå because of how perfectly she was preserved. And soon enough, more and more mummies began popping up across the desert. But the mysterious part wasn't the mummies themselves, but rather that they were Caucasian in origin, something that apparently the Chinese government at the time did not want to openly admit. Why didn't they want to admit that? Were they hiding some kind of dark secret perhaps? I mean, truthfully, we don't know, but what we do know is that the discovery proves some kind of settlement of Caucasian people among the ancient Asian city and really only created more questions than it answered. Next up in our number 9 spot, the horned kangaroo. Back in 2002, an excavation in Australia's Nullarbor Desert uncovered a wild collection of megafauna fossils. But out of all of the out-of-this-world fossils that were discovered, the strangest, most unsettling find was what appeared to be the skull of a horned kangaroo. Now, I would be nervous to get too close to, well, just a normal kangaroo. I mean, they aren't the most dangerous animal out there, but they have some pretty powerful legs, and if they feel threatened, they sure know how to use them. But throw in some horns, well, you could be in some real trouble. The good news is that the fossils date back sometime between 200,000 to 500,000 years old, so we're safe from any kind of horned kangaroo attack. But still, they are definitely an unusual find. Unlike any other kangaroo, both fossilized and living, they are the only kind to have a strange bulbous snout and bony projections sticking out from above its eyes, which, I mean, just truly sounds like a terrifying sight. Coming in at number 8, mysterious geoglyphs. Nearly 100 years ago, World War I pilots came across strange circular geoglyphs at the Wadi Wasad in the Black Desert of Jordan. Now, for centuries, there have been many theories about the truth behind early geoglyphs, such as the Nazca lines in Peru. And while the running theory is that geoglyphs are man-made, there are many people out there that feel they need more convincing. The strange geoglyphs in question are even more mysterious than the others, as similar ones have been revealed across Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen, all dating back roughly 8,500 years old, meaning they predate the Nazca lines by 6,000 years, which is wild. The biggest reason behind the conspiracy that geoglyphs are not man-made is that these ones in particular are really only visible from the sky, and so it begs the question, why design these monuments that you are unable to view? Unless it wasn't humans who were designing them. However, experts have come forward saying that they could have been created as a gift to the gods, hence the bird's eye. So, I mean, who knows? Coming in at number 7, a whale graveyard. Maybe I'm just thinking a little too in the box, but the last thing I would think to find in a desert would probably be a giant whale cemetery. And I can imagine that it was just as surprising to the people who stumbled upon it in the first place. Back in 2010, Chile's Atacama Desert was undergoing some construction for a highway widening project, and it was here that 75 whale skeletons were unearthed, each one laying right next to the other, mere yards apart. According to the Royal Society Journal, the graveyard appears to be the result of 4 separate mass strandings of the creature, with evidence strongly suggesting that the whales had ingested some kind of toxic algae along with their prey. Once the toxins were ingested, it didn't take long before the mammals began dying and washing onto flat ground, and eventually, over time, the flat sands slowly buried them. So, while this might have a good explanation, you have to admit that coming across the fossilized bones of 75 whales in the middle of a desert wouldn't freak you out at first. Next up at number 6, an alien claw. The Institute in Cusco, otherwise known as a group of self-proclaimed paranormal researchers, appears to have come across an inexplicable finding while searching the desert caves and tunnels of Cusco. According to the group, back in 2016, they came across what they believe to be a giant alien claw, as well as an elongated skull that allegedly has real skin tissues still intact. Even more mysterious was when one of the researchers said that after performing x-rays on the peculiar finding, they were able to conclude that the 12-inch alleged alien hand apparently had 3 fingers with metallic implants. Plus, given the size of the hand, it's safe to assume that it would have belonged to a very tall individual, roughly 8 to 9 feet tall by the researchers' estimates. Now, to be fair, there have been very tall humans close to this size. The tallest recorded man, for example, was Robert Wadlow, and he measured 8'11", so it's not impossible that it belonged to a person, but the metal fingers are still definitely suspicious. I don't know, do you think it could belong to an alien species that invaded Earth, or is it just the fossilized hand of an incredibly tall human? Coming in at number 5, the Atacama Humanoid. First discovered in a deserted Chilean town in the Atacama Desert in 2003, this alien-like humanoid, commonly referred to as Ada, measures just 6 inches tall and caused quite the stir upon its discovery. First of all, it was unlike anything that had ever been found, and the mysterious tiny thing had everyone absolutely perplexed. Immediately, many came forward wanting to claim the find as proof of alien life, assuming that it was some alien race that had been mummified thousands of years ago, and for a while, there wasn't actually much to counter that argument. But after 10 years of research, scientists were finally able to confirm once and for all that the tiny 6-inch tall mummy was in fact human. With the help of a DNA sample extracted from Ada's bone marrow, they were able to conclude that this tiny skeleton was a premature fetus, and on top of that, the result of a rare mutation of dwarfism. But the most strange part of the whole ordeal, apparently these findings were later disputed and caused quite the controversy among scientists, as a second group of researchers claimed that the anomalies previously stated by the first group were not present. I mean, honestly, I don't know much about the drama between researchers, but what I do know is that if I came across a 6-inch tall mummy that looked like an alien, I would probably never sleep again. Coming in at number 4, mummified dogs. Maybe it's just me, but mummies just kind of give me the creeps. Like, I know there's absolutely nothing evil about them per se. They're just preserved bodies, but like there's also nothing evil about someone being buried in a graveyard, but still their ghosts run rampant. That's all I'm saying. And what's even more bone-chilling than a human mummy? Well, I would say the mummy of an animal, or rather, 8 million animals to be exact. The haunting discovery came about a few years back when archaeologists discovered a catacomb network built roughly 2,500 years ago under the Saqqara Desert in Egypt. And to their shock, they discovered the remains of 8 million mummified dogs and puppies inside. It's believed the dogs were likely used as some kind of offering to the gods. Apparently at the time, it wouldn't have been viewed so much so as a sacrifice, but rather a pious act, with the animal acting as some kind of intermediary between the donor and the gods. And if that wasn't wild enough, there are apparently many other catacombs across the same desert dedicated to different animals, such as baboons, cows, bulls, hawks, and cats, all for different rituals. I mean, I can't even really grasp the concept of that many dead of anything all in one place, and hopefully I never have to. Coming in our number 3 spot, we have fairy circles. In the grasslands of the Namib Desert lies one of the most peculiar phenomenons I have ever come across. Inexplicable circular patches that have been astutely nicknamed fairy circles. These strange circles have baffled scientists for decades, as there is not yet concrete logical explanation behind them. Of course, many have come forward with their own version of truth behind them, some saying that they're from underground dragons or that they are left behind by spirits. But of course, the most popular conspiracy surrounding them is that they are the result of UFO landings similar to the crop circle. What's maybe most mysterious is that the fairy circles grow from 6 to 40 feet throughout their lifetime, and that they remain in one place for up to 75 years. Until that is, for all intents and purposes, they die and disappear forever. Of course, there are a few scientific theories behind their origin, like sand termites, evaporation of water from plants, rainfall patterns, and such, but they still remain a huge mystery to even the most dedicated researchers. However, in the oral myths of the Himba people, it's believed these barren grass patches are caused by Mukuru, their original ancestor, or that they are the footprints of gods. Nonetheless, they are definitely bizarre occurrences, so all I can hope for is that they have nothing to do with aliens. Coming in our number 2 spot are Marfa Lights. Found in the small desert town in Texas, the Marfa Lights are an inexplicable occurrence that have been appearing for generations. According to eyewitnesses of the phenomenon, mysterious orbs of light, roughly the size of basketballs in varying colors, will hover, split, merge, and dart across the desert lands in an impossibly predictable fashion. While the indigenous peoples would tell stories of the lights being fallen stars from the sky, paranormal investigators have theorized that they belong to wandering souls lost in the desert. And I mean, it wouldn't be the first time orbs of light have been associated with wandering entities, but still, that doesn't make it any less haunting, even if it turned out to be true. However, as I'm sure you can imagine, there are many out there who are certain that the strange lights are of otherworldly origin, specifically claiming that the lights are from alien UFOs darting through the sky. And I mean, if they are right, that would be terrifying. Experts, of course, have tried to ease the public with theories surrounding methane gas, but truthfully, their theories are just that, their theories. The truth behind these eerie orbs of light remains a mystery, just as they have for thousands of years. And last up, in our number 1 spot, we have Dead Sea Scrolls. About 75 years ago, one of the most remarkable archaeological finds was made. Between the years of 1946 to 1956, inside the Qumran caves of the Judean desert, the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, and although it's widely regarded as an incredible find, that doesn't mean it came without its mysteries. Of the 981 texts, the big question mark came from the elusive copper scroll. From what experts can tell, it appears to be a treasure map that intricately details 64 different locations where several tons of gold and silver can be found. But what's perplexing about the scroll is that it is inscribed with a form of Hebrew that is different to the ancient Hebrew found in the rest of the text. Specifically, the dialect on the copper scroll is one that was commonly used nearly 100 years later than the rest. So it begs the question, how is that possible? Was the copper scroll written a full 100 years later and placed with the rest? I mean, maybe? But truthfully, we have no clue exactly what went down. Of course, alien conspiracy theorists have used this as proof that an alien race assisted in making the scrolls, but as you can imagine, there is not really any real proof to back that up either. To top it off, despite several expeditions, no one has been able to find the locations of these alleged treasures, which only adds to the bone-chilling mystery of it all. Well, there you have it. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know of any other weird stuff that's been found in the desert. See you next time.